How was the 4th of July, Mother? How was your 4th?
It was okay. We didn't do anything special.
Didn't do much?
Dad bought 5 sparklers
Oh, that was it?
for my
That sounds like a
ice cream
dad
cake.
move.
And we sat outside on the deck with Michael and lit the sparklers.
Was it? I'm going to assume Michael just kind of sit in the chair like this. Woo.
No, he wasn't even there for the sparklers.
Oh,
he
he
was
wasn't?
working out. He was working out in the basement. He came up. We were sitting outside. It was actually very nice outside.
Yeah, I
So
asked him to play some Marvel Rivals last night. He's like, I can't. I'm home. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's a PC in the basement. He goes, I got to
Yeah,
work
the
out.
basement.
I said, Michael, give Mom a notebook. Have her sit behind you. We need a third support.
No, thank you. No, but we talked a lot about the new Superman movie today.
Yeah.
I did not know there's a crypto super
You
dog.
didn't know about Crypto the Super Dog?
Hello.
They have him young in that one, too. So
I watched the trailer and I loved it.
yeah,
I watched the movie just for the dog.
that's why I saw that and I was like, okay, now I'm more interested in this movie, especially if Crypto's in it. So yeah, I think that movie. You know, I think I had a bad taste in my mouth because it wasn't Henry Cavill, but now that I see this new guy, I'm like, okay, fine. He's low budget Henry Cavill, but
low budget. But when he blew that whistle, when he whistles for him, and it looks like a snowplow.
Yeah.
Dad didn't know what it was, so I played the trailer for him because I said I think the character of Crypto is based on Bo's life. I attached the trailer to it, so we're watching it with him. And so he sees the snowplow. He's like, "What is that? I don't even see what it is." I go, "It's a snowplow. It's Crypto."
Crypto the Super Dog. Yeah, Crypto's been around for a long time.
I didn't know about him. So then I had to show Mike Cavill's dog, the black Akita. Akita.
Oh, I didn't know you had one.
Yeah. You know his name? His name is
Crypto? Tell me it's Crypto.
No, even better name, Kal-El.
Kal-El. Oh, that is a good name. That's Superman's real name.
He's pretty too. He's the old black face.
Oh, really?
Dressed with that
One of
mixed
those?
color. Yeah.
So Jordan and I went to a 4th of July party yesterday. We went to our softball friends. Yeah, it was just, essentially it was a family reunion and then some softball players were invited. Right? So it wasn't quite a softball barbecue.
Awkward.
It was fine. Let me tell you, Jordan and I dominated in cornhole. Like they had the professional grade cornhole and Jordan and I could not be beaten. I picked it up real quick, and you know me, like I was starting to get competitive because one of the guys that we were playing against was too drunk to keep score, so he just added numbers to himself. So I was like, let me put 3 in a row, and I did. I got too competitive because I didn't want to lose to a guy that was cheating. Yeah, the rest. Then it was like lady. Then we were playing older women, and I was like, we're not going to destroy them. I'm only going to win by like 20 points. So yeah, but Jordan picked it up for
nice. A family reunion. They're all sitting around going, "Who the hell is that cousin?"
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And down here in the South, it's like everyone's got pretty big families. But they did the barbecue right. This was definitely a family that's done it before. You know, like this wasn't their first rodeo. So there was probably about 50 people, I would say. Probably,
nice size.
Some were kids, some were adults. But I said to Jordan, there's probably only like 6 people on the softball team that were there.
Including you guys or
including Jordan. So.
Oh, that's true. You're not part of it. Okay.
Not that many.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah, we still had fun. We were only there for like an hour and a half because I wanted to get back for Aunt Sue and Uncle Jerry's. Then we went there. And just hung out with them. So it was pretty successful. Sharon made, I believe it's called a truffle, right? Truffle cake where you have like the...
The layers.
I don't know why you're not doing that every weekend. I don't know what the hell with the strawberry and blueberries and the whipped cream. I could eat that. I was like, man, I might have to push this away. Like I could probably eat that whole bowl. So I was like, I can't do it. Then I went to the key lime pie and I had one. Then I was like, let me go to the cheesecake. I was going back and forth. But I didn't eat a disgusting amount. You know, I kind of paced myself because we had kind of like an appetizer at Megan's, right?
Or maybe you've just expanded your stomach that much
that's messed up.
Yeah.
But they did a full pig, like a 200-pound pig at Meg's place with a giant
pit barbecue.
Well, it was like a giant grill. I couldn't even describe this thing to you, but it was probably about the size of like the kitchen table. No, probably bigger than the kitchen. Take the kitchen table, put 2 together essentially in width.
Okay.
That was probably how big this grill was. They just threw the pig in
Okay.
there. It closes and locks, and you just let it roast for like 4 or 5 hours, and maybe probably longer than that. And then I looked at this pig, which now that I think about it, maybe it wasn't a pig. I'm not even sure. But we left before they finished that. But they had like a pulled pork area, and it was. I was like,
big.
whoa. They've done it before. They had deviled eggs. They had every pasta salad possible, onionless or with onions. I was like, what the hell?
Did people bring food?
We were going to be hospitable. No, not hospitable. Be good guests. And they were like, we have so much food that it's not even, don't even bother. I was like,
all right.
Yeah, we'll see. Get there. And yeah, there was a lot of food. But let me tell you this. They probably had 12 coolers. Not a single soda. Not a single soda. I looked at like 7 different coolers. I didn't want to be that guy going through all the coolers, but if every beer type possible was there, I'm just like, man, I want a Pepsi with this. You know? I'm like, what are the kids drinking?
You head up and just go, yo, Nana, where's the Pepsi?
Yeah, I was like, does anyone around here? But yeah, it was pretty it was well done, but it was catered to the adults. And I was like, what did the kids drink? And they were like, they just go inside and get water. I was like, oh.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares with the kids?
They had blow-ups and stuff, too. Like giant blow-ups for the kids, which was nice. I was like, Jordan, hold me back.
The kids, Christopher.
I was like, Jordan, hold me back. Jordan. And she's like, Chris, you can't, as I'm running across. But their backyard had a volleyball, like a full sand volleyball court. So it was pretty nice.
Did you play or you just watched?
No, I was sweating so much from the cornhole. Like, it was just so hot. I was going, Mom, the sweat on my brow while Jordan and I were going hard. But no, just standing out there was pretty hot because we're in this heat spell. Everyone was sweating, but this is
people playing volleyball?
Oh, yeah. Mostly the kids who are in the pool and stuff, but these people, as I was saying, these people know how to do it right. What they did was they had a bunch of tents, right, with tables underneath. What they did was they took a long pole that goes all the way across, and then they across all the tents, and they would just take ceiling fans and a power strip, and just fans down on the tables on this pole. It was pretty smart, but I was what the hell's your electric bill? Your electric bill's gonna be through the roof.
Off.
Yeah, they had everything.
Keep the bugs off the food. Yeah, it's a good idea.
So
well, probably maybe they do it every year.
Yeah, every 4th of July.
Coming.
It's her dad's side, so I was like, oh, okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, went over to Aunt Sue's, and that was about it. We didn't really do too much.
I was looking at fireworks, thinking I would drive Grandma because my car has the roof that goes all the way back, the panoramic one.
Right.
And I said, we could pull by Fiddler's and watch it. So I went online. Fiddler's had like a 4th of July starts at 5. Like, didn't give any other details, like when they were going to do the fireworks. And then I got lazy. And then I went and looked up Milltown Park. You know where JV soccer was?
Yeah.
That park? Yeah. So I looked it up and go, oh, well, this is nice. I wish I had known this. Starts at 6 o'clock. They have food trucks. You can pick them.
Whoa.
Then the 70s, 80s band comes at 8 o'clock, I think, to 9:30. And they, 70s, 80s, that's not bad. Then the fireworks start, and then the band comes back on for another hour. But you can't drive there. They shut the road down at 9. So people can't drive and park, right before the fireworks. So unless you want to spend the whole time. But I said, boy, I wish I'd known that. We could have made a little even. I don't know if Grandma could have gone that long. But, we could have gone maybe at 7:38. Hit a food truck up, sit with some chairs if we had any. Right. Watch the fireworks, just something to do. But
yeah, I didn't really do much fireworks. I didn't stay for that long. I was like, I don't need fireworks. I could hear it.
Sue said she could see them off of the at her house. But I'll tell you, I put the Macy one on TV for Grandma. They do the
Macy's,
the music and everything. It was very nice, obviously extravaganza and every type of firework you could think of. But it went on and on and on to the point where I like fireworks, but I'm done. How many times you need to see things go up at the end of
the pretty lights.
With the cost of it, too, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money for the city to spend. I mean, they could have done a nice job with half the time, to be honest.
Right.
And would have been done.
This is New York
I
City, right? That's New York City?
Yeah, Macy's, New York City, yeah. Macy's sponsors it, and they do it every year. And I'm sure it is very nice. They do it. I was just shocked at how long, and the most, I don't know, some annoying songs for older people. They mixed in some modern versions of patriotic songs, but.
Gotcha. So it sounds like a pretty underwhelming 4th of July in comparison to Aunt Sue's Burgers, the sausage.
It was better than I expected. I mean, we did a little bit more having Mike here. At least it was a different face to add to the mix. It was very, I'll tell you, people in the Northeast here, they cannot complain about this weekend. It's been beautiful. It has not been muggy. It did not rain. We had that brutal rainstorm the day before. Did we tell you that one with the power going out?
Oh, yeah. So what exactly happened that we lost power? Was there a storm? Because Dad said it wasn't.
Well, Thursday, right? Thursday was the 3rd, yeah. Your uncle happened to stop by right around dinner time. We're chatting, and it gets dark outside. I knew we were going to get rain, but it was bad. Like, the winds were like it was a hurricane out of nowhere. We would have lost the awning if the awning was out.
Really?
And I was making dinner. So I go outside because now it starts to rain. I go, oh, man, I got to put the cushions away. So I step out. He follows me. He looks to the left, and one of the trees on Victory, so right behind our house in the back, right off the back of the pool, you saw lightning hit it. It split, and it landed right on the power line, and all the power went out.
Wow.
Yeah. So not a crisis because we didn't get a lot of rain, and it didn't last long. But because, with our sump pump. But Dad slowly pulled out the generator and all that, which was good because we didn't get power again till. So this was probably around 5. We didn't get power till 12:01 in the morning.
Damn! Wow.
Lot of card games here with Grandma Lolly.
Oh, she must have loved that.
Yeah.
She would have been. She must have been all
Mike
over
didn't
that.
come till Friday, so fortunately Michael wasn't here. Not that it was a big deal, but it's okay. It wasn't a crisis for us because Dad pulled out the generator and it's boring, but it's not like we needed water or anything. But once the power came on, so Dad and Grandma went to bed. We went to bed. Power came on. I'm like, oh, I got up. I went downstairs. 12 in the morning. I washed the dishes because I didn't want to smell them. And then I decided I had to take a shower. So Dad wound up showering. So we wound up being up late yet again over the power. And then I had to get Mike. But Mike's flight was really delayed. He got rerouted through Houston.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was weather related or what. He wasn't even sure. But so anyhow.
Oh, he must have been. Not to air out Michael's shit, but right, he didn't want to miss that flight in the morning, so I stayed up with him. So he's pumping coffee at 2 a.m. trying to make sure he doesn't fall asleep. So he must have been a bear by the time he got home.
No, Dad picked him up. No, he's pretty good. He slept. So the Houston to Newark flight.
Houston to Newark. I was just gonna say, like, Mike was doing everything in his power to keep me up because we were playing Marvel Rivals. He's like, Chris, one more. We can't end on that. And I'm like, okay, one more. And then he goes, Chris, one more. Just because it's a win doesn't mean it's over. I was like, Mike, I can't stay up any longer. He's addicted. But go ahead, continue.
His flight from Houston to New York, I believe, was empty. It was
Wow.
not. Oh, maybe that was no. Maybe one of them was not. Was full. Was empty, and he was able to stretch out and sleep on the chairs. Which is why I said, "Why are you sleeping when you get here?" He went to take a nap. I go, "Why are you still so tired?"
Quality sleep.
Yeah. Well, Kenny sounded like you. I was talking to him before, and he goes, "Yeah, I gotta take Mike to the airport today." I said, today? He's not coming until tomorrow. He goes, today is tomorrow. I go, you sound like Chris.
Yeah, today is.
Chris means now.
That confuses me too, yeah. Yeah, when I say I'll see, because out of habit, like let's say it's 2 a.m., everyone says, hey, we'll see you tomorrow. It's like, you mean later in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even, he just meant because it was going to be so early in the morning, it's the same day. So, and that they probably were going to stay up. But it's fine. He made it here and all's good. And he's staying for a while. I think he's staying till Saturday.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. So, that was the excitement for the week. The power outage, and we sent Uncle Ray to go get coffee at Starbucks. He saw the guys there, the JCP&L, or what do you call it? The guys who fixed the line. And he goes, hey, there's a line down Victory Boulevard. And they did come. There was 2 trucks, and they worked. I think there weren't too many. I think it was just our area. They worked all the way till 12 o'clock. They didn't leave until the power was restored.
Wow.
And they had to cut down a tree because people
in New Jersey? So
Yes.
literally the tree fell down and killed the power line.
Tree fell down.
Oh, I thought you said that
the power line.
I thought you meant the lightning hit the power line and
No,
split it.
it looked like the lightning hit the tree. It split,
Gotcha.
and the whole thing landed in the road because Dad said, "Oh, the cars are coming. The people that want to go in the back."
Right.
But if they park the cars and leave them, then the guys can't come and work online. So
Right.
by the time I went out there to kind of tell people, you can park in front of our house, let the truck get down there. They had already started backing up and were going other places, parking other places. But as I said, it wasn't, we've had worse here with the hurricanes and stuff. It was just amazing the powerful winds that came literally out of nowhere and ended out of nowhere. Like, we're in a tornado here, people.
Yeah.
No, the answer to this.
All right, Mom, you ready to start some articles?
Sure.
Well, actually, I don't have an article for this one, but I think the biggest news this week was that the big, beautiful bill, the BBB, passed. So,
The BBB,
Mother,
yes.
Instagram, TikTok, every Democrat is putting their 2 cents in about how, everyone's losing Medicaid, blah, blah, blah. What are the big talking points of this one? Because I think, as I said, you're probably the best one to explain this to people, but I know it's a long...
No, I pulled something out for it, and then I wound up not looking at it. But I will say this: like, I was so mad the other day, and I learned something because they put on the House floor that they did not approve the end of Medicaid to illegals, which for me, I'm livid about that. That's not right. Okay, so I was so mad that that happened, and another representative or senator cleared it up because no, that's a separate amendment that we put out there just to get it on the record who supported it.
Right.
Obviously, the Democrats and some Republicans, they are fine with. They didn't vote against non-citizens receiving Medicaid. It is in the big beautiful bill that non-citizens are not going to get Medicaid.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff in there that people are freaking out over. It doesn't cut spending enough, to sum it up. That's why a lot of conservatives, like myself, I would like to see the spending cut, especially after all the Doge uncovered, right? So citizens who remember what Doge uncovered and the amount of,
Mother, this
waste and fraud out there.
Can I throw in a kind of a counterpoint, though? Right? It's $4 trillion added over 10 years, right? So my thought process was, well, how much do we spend on past bills over 10 years? Right?
A lot.
Yeah. So more than
is
4 trillion. Right. Because then I go to the mindset of, well, you have to spend money to make money. Right?
We don't have it to spend anymore.
Okay.
So that's the issue. And this is a national security issue. That if we do not, well, let me say, this is what Trump ran on, because if we don't make cuts, we will not be able to sustain the payment of the debt, because we also, every now and then you hear them talk about the raising of the debt ceiling, meaning we can borrow more. Well, any person knows you can't keep borrowing. At some point you got to pay the piper. When it comes to the government, who do you pay? You really don't pay, but what happens is the dollar becomes unappealing. The countries that buy our stuff, they don't want it andomore.
Right,
now we have
the
problems,
petrol dollar. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where it becomes an issue, and it's a security issue because we have to borrow. We don't make enough money. Now, since then, which you don't hear about this from the Democrats, we've had the tariffs. And just as a reminder, I think we talked about this on one of the last podcasts. Our country never had income tax till 1944. We were funded by tariffs. That was our industry. That's how we made our money. And tariffs are already doing a great job of bringing in revenue. So even though in an ideal world we cut, and bring in revenue, that's a great thing, right? In your own household. I have 2 jobs and I cut all my expenses. Well, now you're going to have money, right? Now you're going to be rolling in it. And you can pay off your debts, and you can get yourself planted, and then maybe you could get another job, blah, blah, blah. So that's Trump's goal here. Even though it doesn't cut as much, which Democrats are all, they don't want anything cut. It doesn't go as far as we would like to see it, but it does a pretty good job. And what's very important, and I will say this, I do find it important, it really funds border security and ICE. It finally does for the border what should have been done years and years ago. So he's getting a chunk of money in 2026. Remember, we have to finish out with Biden's
Right.
for this year. It funds a chunk of money for things like finally finishing walls, like agents, like finally fixing that border. We'll see if it happens, but at least the money's there to do it as of right
Gotcha.
now.
Because
So that was his biggest selling point, and that's why he keeps saying, we got to do this, got to do this. And you're never going to get 100%. We should, because we have the House, we have the Senate, we have the presidency. But, there's too many wishy-washy, even Republicans on there for them to agree to it, to some of the cuts and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are focusing in on how many people are getting kicked off of the Medicaid, which it's all people abusing the system. They're not going after like the 3-year-old who needs special treatment, to my understanding. Right. But I see so many people like, my daughter's going to lose her funding. No, that's not going to happen. The 17 million, right, probably doesn't, right? Is that all illegal or just people abusing the system, right? It's just those.
Well, they just announced last week. Never gets any attention. Like 324 people identified in fraud, doctors, hospitals, and they're prosecuting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Medicaid, Medicare fraud. I mean, outright fraud to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars, right? So, and nobody even pays any attention to that, right? So that means they've been doing this on a regular basis. So no, it's not just, it's waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what was supposed to be the cornerstone of this bill.
Right.
And we're trying to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, that's great, but you want to cut. And let's start with the obvious. If you're not a citizen, you shouldn't be getting what other citizens work hard and pay taxes for.
The other downside of the other big thing that everyone's talking about is all the healthcare workers about to lose their jobs because of the cuts towards Medicaid. How does that make sense? Because I would think that they would just be part of
let's just clarify something here. The way Medicaid works, and I'm going to simplify it because it's even beyond me. When they say they're cutting Medicaid, they're cutting the federal funding.
Right.
So the federal government gives money to the states for their Medicaid, like their Obamacare type programs, their Medicaid programs, okay? What the states then do is not totally up to them, but the federal government can dictate what you do with those federal funds in conjunction with your state funds. So if you think about it, like California, for instance, that noodle decided we're going to give free healthcare to every illegal. Didn't hide it, and he's giving it to everybody. Well, you can only do that because you and me in North Carolina and New Jersey subsidize that with federal dollars. Mm-hmm. So as soon as the federal government comes in and says, we're not funding that anymore, well, California is more than welcome to keep funding it for illegals 100%, but they got to do it with their state dollars.
Right.
So they're going to have to jack the taxes up in their own state. Well, now all of a sudden people aren't going to like that, right? People don't mind giving all this stuff, freebies away, when it doesn't cut into their pocketbook. Mm-hmm. Well, now if the states wants to do it, you got to do it on your own dime. So that's an example of Medicaid, Medicare. It's not really a program run just by the federal government. It's kind of how they divvy up funds to all the states for their individual programs.
Right. Okay. Speaking of funds being cut, Trump administration releases $150 million to federal funding to Penn after transgender athletes agreement. The reason I bring this one up, here, 1 second, let me just share my screen. The reason I bring this one up is, right, so a lot of the schools just turned over the not Riley Gaines. What's the name of that? Leah Thompson. Leah Thompson, right? Leah Thompson.
Yes.
Right, all the schools were like, we're going to change over the reason for, or like, so they'll get biological women will get their trophies that they earned back and all that. And it's like, oh, that's nice of them. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, it's because Trump's cutting their funding for that stuff. So now they're like, oh, we don't act like. It goes to show that the money is way more important than the cause in the end, right? They only did the thing to make the LGBTQ endorsements happy, I guess you can say, at the time. And now that it's gone, it's like, okay. It's just funny how they turn on a dime like that.
Well, yes, and it's exposing a lot that's been going on, and this is just one avenue of it. There's the Post here in New York had, was it Harvard? Harvard, I believe it is. The level of anti-Semitism, where students were being spat on, they were being threatened and whatnot. Well, we're going to cut off that funding. You know, Trump's like, if we're going to investigate this first, and if this proves to be true, that breaks civil rights laws. These universities agree to a minimum of, you know, you can't incite violence against students. I don't think that's asking too much, especially for racial reasons. I don't care who you are, Hamas, Palestine, Israel, you just can't do that. And they could lose hundreds of millions of dollars over that. Which the absurd part of it is, and this just shows you how greedy these universities are and how little they do care about these things, because they issued an apology. Apparently it was very wishy-washy at UPenn. Right. They have more than enough money if they really believed in these causes. Mm-hmm. They don't want to spend a dime of their own money. That's how much they really believe in these causes, right?
Exactly.
When it doesn't cost them anything, they don't care. Oh, it's great, it's wonderful. Clap, clap, clap. But when it means, okay, some of you professors might not get tenure. Some of you staff are going to be let go because we lost $175 million.
And
right?
It's wait.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to lose what?
Yeah, okay, we'll cave. They won't say that we're right. You know, they won't say that, oh, yeah, we shouldn't have done it.
Well, it's just never a good idea anyway. Like, I'm sure a couple weeks ago now, the Simone Biles stuff. Did you watch that?
With Riley Gaines?
Yeah, you saw that, right? Where she was like Simone Biles, who's the gymnast, right? She was like, man, you're disgusting if you don't like if you're not pro transgender athletes.
Right.
In sports. It's like, what are you talking about? One, you've never had to go up against one. You haven't had one in any of your tournaments. Two, no one agrees with you on that. Literally, every scientist is saying the same thing too. Like, usually you have some bullshit article, but no, every scientist is like, no, there's no, like, biologically there's a difference. So, and then Riley Gaines, who has her P's and Q's in order, absolutely bashes her, and everyone rallied behind Riley Gaines. And it just made Simone Biles look so out of touch with reality. And she's
in the sport. Even Nancy Mace made a comment saying, you know, it was typical Nancy Mace is a representative. Like, honey, if men competed in your sports, we wouldn't even know your name.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And another person made the comment, you know what? Don't talk to us. Your sport, they even have completely different equipment for the men versus the women.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So it's like, you know, it's so easy to say these things. It's funny. The only sane group seems to be the tennis community. Martina Navratilova, who is gay, lesbian woman, has forcefully come out and said, this is not right. And you even had Serena or Venus a while ago saying, I'd lose to the men. They're more powerful than I am.
Right. I'm pretty sure Serena Williams lost to like the 150th ranked man while he was drinking or something like that, right? He was doing like bottomless mimosas.
I don't know if it's that extreme, but one of them said on a talk show many years ago, and she knows it. She goes, and they're big women. They're not dainty Chrissy Everetts. These are very strong, athletic women. And even she said, I can't. Navratilova had a good point. I can't compete with a server who's 7 feet tall.
Right.
Versus me. I mean, that's just geometry. They're higher. There's higher, more powerful coming down. The height, you can't change that. Sure, you could have a tall woman, but they're not going to have 7 feet. So anyhow, they're finally accepting, and unfortunately, we had to get to this point that we have to demand, right, with money, you stop it, or we're not going to fund it.
I find it funny. They did an interview with Jorge Masvidal, who was a UFC fighter. He wasn't a champion by any. Was Jorge a champion? I think he was. Well, he had what's called the BMF belt, but they asked him, like, if you were to go up against Amanda Nunes, like, what would happen if a woman came into the arena, right? It came into the octagon. And he says, do you know who Amanda Nunes is? And Amanda Nunes is arguably the greatest female UFC fighter in the world. He said, if you had one of her come in every second, it would be unlimited. Like, that's the difference between men and women. Like, that's how many versions of her he could take out. I mean, multiple, that's different. But, like, in one-on-ones, the skill gap and the size difference of biology, like, you really see the difference in combat sports, right?
Well, let me just say something, and people tend to forget this. I was never a proponent. Everyone's like, oh, look at the girl football player on the boys' team. Wow, she's breaking all sorts of new areas, right?
That reminds me of remember the girl I forget, it was probably like Iowa or something, but the girl who was the kicker for the football team, it was like this big moment, the first female kicker. And she essentially kicked it as far as an onside kick. Like,
right.
It was not good.
But my point is, even many who can hold their own in certain positions, what's the point? Why? And this is what, the feminist movement has no right to complain about this, or they're getting a taste of their own medicine. They had to encroach on men's space. They had to be on the team. They had to be allowed to play. They had to have little girls be on the baseball team and this and that, taking over the male space. And now when it happens to them, they don't like it, because the women weren't going to dominate by being in the men's sports.
Right.
But with the men in the women's, or the biological men, now they're dominating. So that argument, I mean, a lot of pro-feminist women, blah, 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 they need to stomach that. You created this mess.
Yeah.
With all this, oh, I want my daughter, she's not going to play softball. She wants to be on the baseball team. Okay, why? Well, because they don't have baseball for girls in high school. Well, maybe that's what should change. But the answer is, my daughter should be on the boys' team because she's just as good as they are.
Right. I mean, it's good that we're starting to see the swing. Right? It's starting to swing back hard. It's a bigger swing than I thought it would be. But I don't know anyone who thought this was a good idea. Right? Like, even the Olympics, they're like, what are we doing?
Right. And I'll tell you, this is a hot button issue for the campaigns. It's not, Palestine. It's not even the wars.
And there's no good argument.
Transgender.
Yeah, and there's no good argument for it.
But it really resonates with everybody, even the liberal woman whose daughter is getting kicked out of a sport, even the liberal father. You know what I mean? They poll test after poll test. People don't like the LGBTQ books in the classroom. The Supreme Court just ruled on that. So for us at this point, we're past that age. It's not a big deal to me. Well, it is, but it doesn't directly affect me. It annoys the hell out of me. But for those parents, that's a major issue, and it unites people that you wouldn't think be united, because they're adamant against this stuff. And the Democrats just keep doubling down on it, and they're not understanding this is not a winning issue. When you've got the universities caving,
Yeah, that's how you know.
They were not right. It's a bogus issue that they've beefed up to get attention and money. People are making money.
You saw 32% of Democrats are proud to be American. How gross is that?
Saw that?
How gross.
I saw that.
It's sad when Fetterman's the one who's the voice of reason right now. Right?
Yeah.
Like, to the point where he's really their only option for like a presidential candidate.
Well, you have to take that in conjunction with the polling that Musk did with the number of people who would be perfectly fine with a new party, both Democrats and Republicans.
What was the
we're all
number
getting
on that?
fed up with our parties.
Oh, okay. I don't know what the result was on that, but I don't know if I want Elon running a party either. But again, I'm at the point with Elon where, like, I'm scared for him to add anything else to his very busy schedule. Right? I don't want him running anything else.
He's entitled to do it, just as anybody else could try and do it.
Right.
And what's the platform? It might be very appealing to a lot of people who don't like the wishy-washy in the middle. Right. I'm sure he's going to take a lot from what Trump already stands for, which was part of the Tea Party. But yeah, I mean, we've had parties come and go in this country, but we're basically a two-party system. It's a little bit of concern with all this ranked choice voting baloney that goes on when you start introducing multiple parties, and now we start looking like, the UK with the 8 different parties, and they have to form coalitions and all this gibberish. I don't think the American people have time or patience for that. That's just a smokescreen.
Yeah, most people don't even know the difference between Republican and Democrat. They just know whatever they signed up for, right?
Right, and places like the UK, you have at least 3 different countries there, if you think about it.
When I'm
part of the UK,
I still think
Ireland,
that
Scotland, UK.
when I'm president someday, I have to make sure that you have to take some basic level of politics before you can vote. That's the one change I would make if I had free reign.
It used to be called civics, and every high school had to teach it.
But
they got rid of that because we had to do more with the LGBTQ and read really inappropriate books in school.
What do you think the percentage is of people that can name the three branches of government. I got 15%.
Well, when our representative in New York wasn't able to do it after she was elected, is a pretty scary thought. Yeah, I just, like I said, you can't. Originally, you had to be a white male landowner to vote in the United States.
Yeah, that's like what, the
gradually,
17.
Fortunately, that was changed. I mean, women didn't vote till the 1920s.
Fortunately,
no. But I'm saying, yeah, I mean, fortunately, because everybody you shouldn't have to own. Like, for instance, you wouldn't be able to vote.
Right.
You don't own land, even though you're a white male.
Right.
And that shouldn't dictate somebody's. Some people don't want to own a home or own land.
Right.
Especially if you live in a city. So that obviously you had to change the parameters for that. The point is, we've gone through such gyrations that I don't talk about it here because there's just too many. It goes on and on. But the amount of voter fraud that's coming out every week from 2020 and 2020, what was the last one? 2024. No, 2022. They're trying to do 2024. I don't know. But, it's the same voting system. So, yeah, it's got fraud in it. I mean, it's definitely got fraud. We've got Chinese government that was giving licenses here to illegals so they could vote. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how corrupted it must be and needs to be fixed.
Right.
So, we could have all the parties in the world, have 15 parties. It doesn't matter if you don't fix who's actually voting for these different groups.
Yeah.
So I'm always back to that one. That's the cornerstone.
All right. What is this? Unpacking Brian Kohlberg's guilty plea to avoid death penalty in Idaho student killings. I totally forgot about this.
Yeah.
But this was like 3 years ago now, at least.
Yes.
Correct?
I didn't really follow the case other than something's weird.
I didn't know it was still going.
Yeah. No, well, by the time, look at P Diddy, right? He's not going to be sentenced till October. By the time you get to this point, after they have to do investigating, they have to put their cases together, they have to get witnesses together, and then they get. So, long story short, he decides to plead guilty. And because of that, he avoids the death penalty. So he can go to prison for life. And the the families of the 4 victims were really upset about this. Mainly because, I mean, obviously they wanted more information, frankly. They want to know, why did this person do that? They still don't know it. Why did he go into that building, go to the 3rd floor, specifically go to that place where those 4 people were? They still don't know why. And now he's not compelled to say why. He doesn't have to. What happened to the murder weapon? Nobody knows what that is. He's not compelled to. The person who wrote, the reporter who answered these questions said, 2 times she mentioned how the guy just, no emotion whatsoever. Did you murder these people? And they go down the list. He's like, yeah, no emotion, nothing.
Psychopath.
So it's been very weird from the beginning. And there's a lot of details that, as a parent or family member, you want closure. And I'm not sure you're getting that closure from this sentencing.
Right.
And they're very disappointed in the prosecutor over it. So that's what got me to read about it. I saw the headlines and I said, well, what's the big deal about it? What's been going on with this case? And it is an unusual situation that they would do a plea deal at this point. There's something to do with the location, Boise versus, I forget where the trial was, where it actually happened. And for that reason, there's a lot of costs involved in doing it in 2 different places. So some people think maybe they're saying, how much is it really going to cost if we keep going with this? Let's just get the plea deal. He's in prison for life. We're done. Right. Okay. Jeez. I didn't know. I brought it up because I didn't know if you were going to mention it.
No.
And I said,
it doesn't. As I said, it's so long ago. I think this is kind of off everyone's radar. I think everyone's going, oh yeah, I remember that, but I don't think anyone's really paying attention. So I was just wondering if you wanted to talk about it. But besides that, what's this one that we're seeing? The cages.
Oh.
Cages of Alligator Alcatraz, but Alcatraz looks more comfortable than the outdoor entertainment facilities that Joe Biden had made put. Oh, I actually saw this today.
The other pictures with it. So compare that one. This is what Trump put in.
This one has tile.
So he went down there and visited it with DeSantis, with what's her name, Kristi Noem, and was Vance there? And Rubio, right? And they're walking through there, and he's explaining the place. Of course, everyone's complaining about it. And I'm laughing because while he's walking, the president goes, I just want you all to know it's 68 degrees in here. It's even air conditioned. We have this place air conditioned. So, like, basically saying, I don't want to hear about all these people sweating to death and Trump's so cruel sticking them in cages. It's probably nicer than a lot of places down in Florida, by the way. And somebody posted, Bill Mulligan, he posted this, and he's right. This is what it was with the Bidens. Nobody complained when these people were sitting on rocks, right? It was okay when Biden did it. No,
Right.
for Trump, they're going to complain. So Trump is bent over backwards to make this a decent facility. So this is like it has a landing pad. It's the middle of the Alligator Alley. So there's no place to go around this. There's literally no place to go. This is where they're going to deport them. So they go down there. They get their little cot in their bed till the plane's ready to put them on the plane and get them out.
Oh, nice. I don't know why this reminds me of this, but did you see that China is doing, I guess they're building a stadium. They have this giant air bubble that goes around all the construction so that they can make no noise to the civilians around. I was like, whoa, that's pretty neat. Wish we had that.
All right, so they're going to need that for the next article, which is Trump wanting to do the UFC at the White House.
Oh, I didn't.
Your brother is like fit over this one.
Yeah, I didn't get that one because it wasn't opening properly. But yes, they announced that in 2026, the UFC is going to have a fight at the White House, which is pretty cool. But also, like, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't matter where it is. Right. Most of the time when we watch, we're like, is this at the Apex Center? Where is this? They all look the same. Yeah. So it would be cool if they did the White House. But the downside is you can't do it outside. Like, they don't have.
I think they will.
I hope so. But I think you're going to hear a lot of complaints from the fighters about it being outside. Okay.
You can't. Well, he'll construct something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a temporary facility,
right?
And it'll be air conditioned. It'll be Trump. Trump will do it. He'll have it done right.
His face is the octagon. Just them standing on his face. That'd be pretty cool.
25,000 people. You can't put that in the White House.
Yeah,
so it has to be a facility outside.
The fights that they're gonna have to put on, those are gonna have to be crazy fights. That would have to be Conor McGregor coming back, like that kind of stuff. Like, you can't have bullshit fights for it.
Yeah, knowing Trump, he'll try and negotiate something big. For my big, beautiful fight.
Yeah, my big, beautiful. The BBF.
But everyone's complaining about it. Even your brother was saying, and I was looking at the articles about it, and there was an interesting, this is what triggered me more. Teddy Roosevelt used to box people at the White House.
Oh, yeah.
Like professional boxers. And the more I read about it, now I really want to read about Teddy Roosevelt. He was a very unique individual. That guy, he just wouldn't quit. I mean, he created all our parks in this country. He was known as the hunter. He was with the Rangers. Apparently, he wasn't a very strong or
big dude,
physically fit kid, and for that reason, he tried 10 times harder and became one. And when he died, some senator had said, "It's a good thing he died in his sleep, because if he died while he was alive, he would have fought death." Like, that's just how he was.
Yeah, damn.
And I was intrigued by that. I knew he was an interesting president. He was elected twice, like Trump.
Is it
not back to back?
You ever see that? Who might be even more badass? Is it not a great person? Which was the one that was it? Andrew Jackson that got into the duels. Who's the one that dueled people?
That was his time frame.
No, Madison.
Burr.
I think it Burr.
Burr took on Hamilton, and I think that's when Hamilton was killed.
Okay, I forget which one it is, but one of them was a general who would just they gave him free reign because they couldn't stop him. He just started wiping out Native American tribes. Like, this is before he was. I don't think he was ever president.
That was General Custer, and that was under Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, okay, I was right. So it is Andrew Jackson under him. But I knew it was. But this guy, I was listening to stories about him. Just like, dude, the Native American chief goes in to basically talk to him. No one knows what was said in there, but the chief comes out after an hour, and he's like all beat up, and he's just like, "We're not getting our land." They treated that guy like shit, and he just within like a day, he took his troops. Just like he said, like Andrew Jackson was like, "I'm trying to make a deal here," and you wiped them all out before the deal was done. Like, you're an absolute crazy person.
Well, that was the time frame. Like, everybody in America, and I know I'm generalizing, but that was the overall theme. People didn't care about the Native Americans. Right. So as much as everybody's like, "Oh, the American citizens and what we did to them was terrible," sure, it was. But at that time, the citizens didn't care. They wanted them marched. They wanted them, and they had a president that they elected who was going to do it. He wanted them out. He wanted the land cleared. So, as much as everybody thinks Andrew Jackson's so wonderful, he was actually the first Democrat president. The other ones were all Democrat and Republican, I believe, or Federalists. Those were the two parties at the time. He was the first hardcore Democrat. He had no, he wasn't married. He's the one that let everybody into the White House for the inauguration party, and they trashed the place. It was like a hoedown.
But that was the first. That was the first White House, though, right? That was before. That was the one that wasn't in West Virginia, right?
No, that was the White House, because the White House was built after they attacked Madison. They came and they burned it. And
okay, so it was after.
Jackson.
Okay, gotcha.
But anyhow, that was the mentality back then. So yeah, it's like, I wiped out a whole bunch of Indians on a reservation. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. Like that was the extent of the outrage.
Oh no, one less whiskey for you, because he was like a big drinker. They should really make a movie about that guy. Speaking of making movies, YouTube pirates crashing in on Hollywood summer blockbusters. Now, I have a problem with this one. One second, let me just turn off JavaScript. Boop, 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 boop. Yes, I know. People are like, whoa, you can do this? Yes, you can. Watch and learn, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look at that. You're welcome.
Know why you have to pirate it anymore.
Okay, well, so what people are... So, okay, this is kind of a follow-up of something that was going on last week at YouTube, where basically there's a big... Okay, I'm not going to go into the details of this just because it's probably going to... You're going to see just two dumb YouTubers basically fighting over fair use again, right? So, fair use is basically... Let's say you make a video and I comment over it, it's fair use. But if you make a video and I just put my face in it and I just watch the video and say good video, that's considered copyright infringement, right? It's not fair use anymore, right? Because you're not adding anything to the
production.
Yeah, you're not adding anything. So YouTube decided last week that they were going to crack down on that. Right. And they said, listen, you have to do this. You got to do that in order for it to be considered fair use. Now, this article comes out and YouTube pirates are cashing in on Hollywood summer blockbusters. Basically, what they're doing is they're recording the movie and just putting it on YouTube. So YouTube, usually you have a copyright policy, but there's certain ways around it. Like there's ways to get around it with the AI systems that they have. So like when we post a video, I could put it under entertainment and it has a different set of guidelines. Also, there's certain things that I can add to the video to make it not get tracked by the bot that flags things, the flag bot.
Right.
So what these people are doing is they're just putting on full-on movies, and then they'll put something in the bottom that's constantly moving so that it's the AI, so that way they can get around it, right? And now we're starting to realize it's not that they care about the fair use. It's just that the pirating of movies has gotten so bad. They needed an excuse to crack down on the videos. So they basically put it all under one umbrella. So YouTube, I expected a little better, but I do think it's funny. Fair use is such a gray line. I never like how fair use works because there's a lot of things that, like every week, YouTube gives me all the things that have used my content, and it's usually inaccurate. Like usually it's I'll say one word, and it'll give me 1,000 videos of the one word that I used. But it's tough because clearly their bot doesn't work. There's too many videos every day, and they can't manage it all. So what they're gonna do is they're just gonna do hard guidelines on it, so there's no questions about if it's fair use or not. So that kind of sucks on YouTube. But yeah. So we just kind of talked about this a little bit ago. Heading for sentencing, Sean Diddy Combs' lawyers aim to show he's no longer a bad boy for life. So I saw a lot of people saying how he's going to get off scot-free for this. The more I look at it, the problem is with all the evidence that's there, the only damning evidence we've seen is the fight that he got into with his girlfriend at the time, which it sounds like there's a lot of things that she consented to that most people would not consent to. And also that had nothing to do with the case. So when you look at the actual evidence of Diddy's parties, no one was underage that we know of. Everyone consented, even though it wasn't things that they were necessarily into, in a sense. Right. The only thing that they're trying to get him on is prostitution over state lines, aka racketeering, which they said that if you pay someone to go over state lines and they are just there's a lot of rules to that, where it's not considered prostitution. And
Right.
just because someone has 1,000 bottles of baby oil in their house, it's not illegal to own 1,000 bottles, but it's weird. So that's why
Right.
it's going to be very hard to piece a lot of this together.
Well, he's already been convicted by a jury of his peers.
Of what parts? Not all the main
Of
parts.
no, not of the racketeering and not of the sex trafficking. But he has been convicted for, I believe it was 3 different prostitution charges. So they made their case that for some reason what he did met the criteria for prostitution.
Right, and they said he's
I
going to get
don't know
like
the
3
case.
months.
No, well, he could get up to 20 years.
Really? See, I saw
Yeah.
different information on that.
Well, I mean, his sentencing is going to be in October. He's not getting any bail right now because he has been violent towards some of his victims, as we've seen in videos. So the judge
Right.
probably rightly said, no, you're not getting bail. You're a violent, this part of these crimes, there was violence involved, and he's not giving him bail. So he's going to have to sit in jail until his sentencing in October and probably get moved to another facility. However, because I think the harder ones were the sex trafficking. If they had made that case and he was convicted on that, he would probably go to jail for life.
Right.
With the 20 years, there may be some contingencies, like he can get off 10 years in parole, right? There might be things like that built into it when they do the sentencing. I think a lot of it depends. And like you said, if the victims were not forced into doing it, or couldn't make the case they were forced, but something must have triggered them to say, yeah, this meets the parameter for prostitution. So there was some sort of element of, controlling somebody in exchange for sexual either money or favors or getting things. I don't know what.
Yeah. I think guilty or not, I think the image of P Diddy is pretty much tarnished. I don't think it's going to be very hard to come back from this, if ever.
I'm shocked the people around him haven't been tarnished. Jennifer Lopez is walking around happy as a clam. Hey, it's the summer of love and forgiveness, And people have short memories in the entertainment industry, right?
True.
She was the one who allegedly brought him the gun at the club that night. That was a long time ago. That was maybe before these freak-on parties. But, he's been around a lot of people, and people in his orbit. I am very surprised that so many of them are getting a pass, if you will. But
Right.
That's the world we're living in today. People do. Yeah, there was a time when just knowing him would have hurt your career. But nowadays people think it makes it intriguing and interesting. But yeah, it's a very disturbing story, and we'll see what happens over time. He may decide, and we know whatever's going on with him and his mother, there's something not right about that relationship.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this guy has a lot of problems. I hope he gets a lot of help for what he's gone through. That would be the best answer for everybody concerned, including his victims. But yeah.
Very soon. I do think he's going to get off on a lot of things. I think they're going to make the claim that they'll give him the one thing that you said, the prostitution. I don't think he had enough evidence to put him under all the most important.
No, he was convicted. You have to understand. He was found guilty on about 3 different prostitution charges, not on racketeering, sex trafficking, or the racketeering charges.
Those are pretty important ones. He got off on. That's what I'm saying.
No, that's what's going to keep him out of jail for life.
Right.
But the other ones, it's a 20-year sentence, and the judge has to decide if he gives him the full sentencing or if I don't know the rules, because sometimes there's latitude. If there's no violence involved, maybe they can do, 20 years, 10 years with parole, if you're eligible for parole. I don't know, because I don't know all the details of the case.
Yeah.
It sounded pretty crappy, but that's up to the judge in October.
Right. All right, last one for me. Mom, we talked about this last week, and we've had quite the turn of events. Did you see anything on this?
No, I was reading the article before you sent this to me, and I go, well, that's interesting. Remember, you told me this poor guy's got to do it all on his own now.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
And in 7 days, he went from, I don't know if it started at 200,000. I think it started at $250,000. 7 days, they've shattered the number. Now,
it's because we talked about it on the podcast. Chris.
Yeah. We're the reason. It's not the other people that are getting millions and millions of views on this. It's definitely us. But
we are the influencers.
I will say that
I
will say that last week's podcast was one of the best we've done numbers wise. So people like the drama, Ma. So again, we're going to have to start a drama.
Drama.
Yeah, you and I are going to become a drama channel. There's going to be a falling out between you and me, but we don't do it behind the scenes, you know? We make them think that we hate each other.
All right, let me just put this aside before you go to the article. Since your grandmother's been here, your father has this whole thing about, oh, the drama meter in our house is through the roof, right? Everything is drama, drama, drama,
Right.
drama. Your dad is like the worst, and I'm pointing it out to him all the time. He's got the most drama and everybody. He's trying to do that with Mike. I'm like, enough with the drama meter. You're the worst. Okay, go ahead.
So Pirate Software, I mean, talk about the downfall of a guy in a week. Like this guy, I mean, this is what I don't like, right? So the initial statements that he made are from 10 months ago. The original video that he made, like, hey, I don't like this Stop Killing Games campaign.
Yeah.
So people are going after him for something he said 10 months ago, but also at the same time, it's like the arrogance, the hypocrisy of, hey, I think it's wrong to review bomb something.
Yeah.
And then he's saying, hey, I'm going to make sure that no one signs this petition. It's that double standard. And now his company, so a lot has happened this week. He had to step down from his company that he's been working with, his video game, because he was a software, he worked at Blizzard. He wasn't a game dev, but he made his own game recently called Heartbound, I think. And I mean, the reviews for it have just been fully negative. So the backlash is really starting to hit him. My whole feed now is just people dogging on this guy. So yeah, but to hit 1 million, it's good because it's a good cause of what it's going for, in the sense of how it helps the video gamers as consumers.
Right.
But I mean, the mindset that this guy has, where he just can't go, like, he's a big enough dude where, in the sense of popularity, he should have a PR team. Also with the companies that he's working with, he should have a PR team that's going to say, hey, can you just like take the fall here, so that, can you just go, hey, yeah, I made a mistake, my bad. But he's like, nah, I'm going to double, triple, quadruple down. It's just not a good look. So they did. Yeah. There's this guy that's like I don't know how legit he is, but he's a YouTube therapist, and he just rips the guy.
YouTube therapist?
Like he's a professional therapist.
You mean on YouTube?
Yeah. Oh, I should have said it that way. Like you work for YouTube and he's people. So he's doing something with this Pirate Software guy, and he's like, Matt, he's an Indian dude. He's like, man, your arrogance is just off the charts on this one. Like the level of the lack of care, the lack of this and that. Like he's single-handedly destroying his companies just because he doesn't want to go, oh, maybe I was wrong about this one. So to the point of the campaign itself, they hit the 1 million signatures, but they think about 10% of them are probably fake. People using VPNs to sign, people signing multiple times. So they'll have to kind of redo it and not redo it, but they'll have to siphon through the real ones from the fake ones. Like apparently people weren't even spelling their names right, like stuff like that. So because of that,
like our voting in America.
Yeah, it's still going to be a long process for them to get this passed in Parliament over there in the UK. So we'll have to see how it goes, but I don't think this is going to change anything anytime soon. I think we're still going to wait at least a year before the petition goes through. And I know how petitions work here in America, which is like not very good. I don't know how they are in the UK. I hear they're better, but I don't think it'll matter that much.
Well, he's probably holding out for some sort of settlement. Like, go away. Here's a couple $1 million. Let it go.
Who?
Yeah. Well, the person petitioning this.
Yeah, no, he's not the guy. He's not the guy petitioning it.
No.
Yeah.
But the ones who aren't actively involved in, who signed it, right, to stop killing it.
Yeah.
And people are, I mean, they legitimately want it, but the person who's spearheading that is basically what you can hope for is either they change the rules and they just all of a sudden, support the platform so you can keep using the games, or they'll pay them off.
The settlement would be, I think he would be very upset. I think the community would be very upset if he took a settlement. Like, I think if he took a settlement, he'd get roasted pretty bad.
Well, I mean, or the settlement could be giving people their money back who bought these games.
Right.
Which that are no longer supported, giving some sort of discount or a rebate or whatever.
Right. That's probably
another game.
That might be the best outcome. So
Right. So that's probably what they'll wind up structuring, some sort of out without having to go through a whole full-blown court
Yeah.
case that they legally have to supply it to them. And I don't know, the court system's going to want to waste time on that one. So,
Yeah, we'll see
but
how
it
that
does
one
help
goes.
to have signatures. When you show
Absolutely.
signatures, it does influence the companies to say, okay, they're serious about this.
And
So it's
yeah.
more than just a handful of people.
And some companies are talking about it now. Like they're coming up with ways to, because this petition's so big, because of a lot of YouTubers who've brought it up. Like it's a pretty big deal. I think this pirate software guy is going to be the most hated person on the internet for a while now. He gets the spear. I'm telling you, if I ever did something wrong, even if I knew I was right, you'd have to cave at some point. You have to. I'd be like, listen, guys, I was wrong. Idiots, but I was wrong. My apology video would be so bad. I'd be like, listen, I know you guys are freaking but I'll take the L on this one. I know you guys are idiots. No, I would never.
No, well, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
No. My mom was talking.
Only in politics.
Only in politics. Yeah.
And gaming.
Yeah. That's the only time we yell at people. So, well, Mom, we just did an hour. We covered everything this week, which is pretty nuts.
Yep. No, we did not.
If we didn't cover one, that's
because
my
Emma Lazarus story.
Okay, that's the one that you didn't send me then. It didn't go through.
That was the very first one. It was an interesting article regarding Emma Lazarus. Now, for those of us, my generation, we all learned the poem that's at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Give me you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry, yearning to be free, blah, blah, blah. And I never cared for that poem, to be honest. You know, something about it it seemed so pathetic. Like these are such pathetic people coming, having relatives who came through Ellis Island, past the Statue of Liberty. It's like, we'll take you in because you're refuse from the world. Like you're this desperate, pathetic people. And somebody writing for American Greatness, I'm sorry, I didn't put his name down. I thought you had the article, but I'll send it to you because I guess you needed to post it. But
no, that's fine.
He brought up the point of, this lady, her name was Emma Lazarus. She's known for nothing other than the fact that they took one of her poems and stuck it at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty. It's not like she was famous before that.
Really?
She was born in 1849 in New York City of a wealthy Sephardic Jewish family who came.
What's a Sephardic Jew? I've never even heard of that.
Sephardic Jew is a particular sect from a particular region. I think over by Russia, but I'm not sure. I don't know it that well. But it's a sect of like you have the Orthodox Jews, Sephardic Jews. I believe they come from a certain area. But that's where her family was from.
Oh, from Iberia.
Oh,
So
okay.
Spain and Portugal. Huh.
Right. So her family was very wealthy. They came before the American Revolution, so her family's been here a really long time. From the original American settlers. In the 1880s, she was very much into Jewish issues and immigration. Especially at that time, Russia was doing the pogroms, where they were kicking the Jews out of the land and they were forcing them into the diaspora, getting them out into other parts of the world. Some went to Israel, some of them went all over Europe and spread out to Germany and Poland, right? The early immigration builders. So this person's comment was, that's not really the huddled masses she referred to, or like those Jews who were kicked out, the peasants. That's not really what all the immigrants were about. That's one group. But to have that be like the whole message when you come to the country, he brought up a good point. He's like, that's not really our immigrants. If anything, they were hardworking. They wanted to come. They were excited. They, had nothing when they came here. They had hope. They wanted to get to this country. And that, I agree. When I read that poem, I'm like, but that doesn't really motivate you to come. It's like, yeah, you're welcome because you're so desperate. Like that's how the verbiage of it comes across. And this individual is like, the early immigrants were builders. They were construction workers. They worked the railroads, like the Chinese. They were mining. They built things here. They were not, just pathetic people who just wanted, a free check or free whatever. They didn't get that back then. So his point was, I think now it's time we remove that poem and put something.
Yeah, something different.
Even if you just quote some of the immigrants when they saw America and come here, when you hear those stories, if you go to Ellis Island, it's all about hope. It's about the future. It's about, it was a terrible journey, but we were so happy when we saw it. More times
when they
than
saw
not,
land.
That's the message.
Yeah, no, that's pretty crazy.
That was the message. So anyhow, I thought that was fitting in time for the 4th of
Independence
July.
Day.
Our friends went to a party. They were appalled. The young individual married a woman who was Lebanese. Nothing wrong with that. They go to a 4th of July party. Everything was the Palestine flag. The plates were Palestine. The napkins were Palestine. There were Palestinian flags all over
Whoa.
on the 4th of July.
What?
Okay.
Did they turn around?
100
Knowing them, did they leave?
It's actually their relatives who went, and it was their family. And mind you, their son was a soldier in Iraq. So it's not, right? So they get to this thing, and it's a family. This is like their son's wife that did all this, right? And my comment was, I would have left. I said, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't realize what they were doing.
That's like that's like Kenny having a birthday and then me setting up for it and using myself. Like having all the things say happy birthday to Chris.
Right. That's not the point of the day. And even if you're an Italian American or an Irish American, you could throw your Irish flag up, but it's about America. Yeah. It's about the American flag. It's about, that's the whole point of independence.
Exactly.
To be put almost to the point where you're going to say, are you trying to send a message here like you hate America? I don't get it. I don't think that was their intent. I don't know the people, but it's just one of those moments where I'm like, here's the thing. I would have said something. I would have had to say something as an American. And I think that's our problem nowadays. Not that everybody needs to be violent and nasty and, burn things. No. But we've lost that edge of, there was a time when even your average person would say, what the hell is this? Like, even your mild-mannered person, this is not, what is this that I'm looking at? They wouldn't even know a Palestinian flag, first of all, in the 1950s. But on top of it, they'd be like, this is not 4th of July, and leave. And those people would feel disgraced. Nowadays, nobody says anything, so they think they're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Strange. Very strange.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah.
All right, Mom, we can wrap it up there. The only things I have to promote, obviously, let's see. What do I have to promote? Podcast from last week, which you did, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you did the podcast last week. Bunch of videos this week. This week was brutal for videos. So I did a video on Starbound on Wednesday. Okay, so ready? So Tuesday, Thursday, and then tomorrow we're all the Lives of P stuff. So go check that out. If you still need that walkthrough guide for the DLC. We had Starbound, a Game Pass roulette on Wednesday, and then on today, so this is Saturday, I posted another B-Team build battle with Paris and Ariel, so go check that out. And that's pretty much it. So, social media, promo codes, stream links, Discord down below, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week.